Why is Rygar the thing that sticks out in your memory, man?
What do you mean, why?
What about that is memorable? I know you're not a video game guy,
Right.
but I was digging around and I found multiple mentions of Rygar, and I'm like, that is so precise.
It was my experience. What can I tell you? I had a stack full of Nintendo cartridges, and that was one of them. And I just remember the times that I spent playing that game.
Yeah, you dug in. It was the Shield.
I won that game.
You beat Rygar.
I beat Rygar. Yeah.
That is, I see me, like, going back, 6-year-old me is very impressed by
See?
30-year-old me is very impressed by that.
Thank you. As you should be.
It's an achievement. Why do you like playing bad guys? This fascinates me, because you're really good at it.
Thanks. I don't know. I mean, I like playing characters that are interesting.
Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad is kind of a secondary consideration, frankly. I mean, I think because Sylar on Heroes was such an archetypal villain, and that's the first thing that people really associated me with in a wider way, it just kind of presented itself subsequently. It's not the only thing that's presented itself, and it's by no means the only thing that I've done.
Oh yeah, no.
But I come back to it when I'm compelled by the character or the story or some aspect of the collaborative creativity, and yeah. But I actually feel, and I feel like this is an interesting moment for me right now. I'm about to finish the third Trek movie. This movie's coming out. I'm playing the antagonist in a way in this film, and like I'm kind of seeing it as a bit of a bookend for me. Like I've had a great experience playing some really interesting villains, and I feel like and now I'm interested in exploring other aspects of my career and other aspects of my work.
Yeah, you've gotten to this point, your on-screen career over the past 15 years now. You've gotten to this point where you can sort of go out there and seek the things you want.
Definitely.
And so what is it that you want? Well, like you mentioned, something in the character, something in the story is what you respond to.
Yeah.
What's the kind of story you respond to?
I like stories that don't take the audience for granted, that really engage an audience and draw them in and inspire some kind of dialogue. But I also, feel like I had this experience working with Oliver Stone on this movie that's coming out at the end of the year, and the idea of working with somebody who is such a legend in their own right, and also someone whose work has inspired me so much, really made me, first of all, grateful, and second of all, want to use that also as a real criteria. Like, who are the people that I want to work with, the directors, and the kinds of filmmakers that are out there now. So, I feel like it's a good time for me to take a breath, actually. I've been going from job to job for a while now, and I feel like when I'm finished with Trek, the idea of stepping back and knowing that I can make a choice is a really, I feel really lucky to be in that position. So we'll see what happens.
I love sort of tracking all the way back to, the beginnings of your career, and how musical theater was this thing that was part of your high school life, and it's carried into your adult life, your stage career, and it's this interesting counterpoint to being like a nerd hero, to being the guy who is in all of this genre stuff, and 24 and Agent 47 and
all the
Trek.
numbers.
You got a lot of numbers to deal with, man. When do you get to mix these passions? There is this gaping void of the genre-based musical. We don't have a sci-fi action musical. Is that the kind of thing that would appeal to you?
My musical theater, that's much more a part of my past. I haven't really done very much musical work. I would love to do a musical film. That would be really fun, actually. I don't know if there's a marriage of the two worlds, though. I think that, if you want to write something and send it my way, we'll see if we can get it up off the ground.
Yeah, I want that to happen. Stage, though, even now, you do see a little bit more of like the science fiction and stuff in off-Broadway stuff.
Like what?
Oh, have you ever seen the stage production of Last Starfighter, the crappy old 80s movie? That exists. This is a thing that you can see. And you would expect it to be nothing but camp, right? But it's actually, it works. And why don't you see the video game adaptation on a stage? Why don't you see a sci-fi adaptation on a stage?
That's a good question, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel my relationship personally to theater is something entirely different from my relationship to these kinds of films and franchises, and so I'm more interested in work that exists in the theater to be in the theater, and either classic revivals or new plays. I don't know. I mean, it's probably not long now before some, so it's probably in the works, some giant, Avatar the musical is going to be rolling through the theater, in Broadway theater in 2 seasons. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of derivative thinking in terms of, entertainment and creative content, and so who's to say?
So this is my last one here. It's very, very different to take a role that you're used to performing and actually having that translate when you're doing work in a video game. And you've translated, you've done Spock for the game, you've done, you did the 24 game, you actually recorded voice work. How do you approach actually playing a character that you're not going to be getting to do any of the physical activity for? Like, all of the emoting is in your voice. So how do you maintain what you know of playing that person when you can't actually move?
Well, you can move. It's the movements are just inconsequential to the story. Does that make sense? So,
it does.
Using the physicality of Spock, for example, when I was recording the stuff for the game, was a huge part of it, and that's a huge part of who that character is, whether you're seeing it or not, whether you're seeing it or just hearing it. So I feel like that's something that you do incorporate in the voice aspect of the work, even if the images that the audience, the game players are seeing are not your own.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right, folks, thanks for watching. And if you want to see more great GR Plus videos, well, our YouTube page is right over here. And if you want to get your READ read on, the GR Plus website is right over there.